guys, welcome back to another episode of Grave Reviews. My name is Chris and today I'm talking about Hellraiser III, Hell on Earth. This one's directed by Anthony Hickox. It is the third in the series. Clive Barker didn't write this one based on his characters though, and continues directly after Hellraiser II. This is a controversial movie, I think, in the Hellraiser franchise, because we go pretty damn cheesy in this one in ways I kind of like. So, Hellraiser 3, like I said, follows immediately after Hellraiser 2, where Pinhead's been split between his evil and good side, and his evil side is trapped within this totem. Usually you see in the Hellraiser movies, there's totems that spin around where they torture people on. Well, in this one, it's like a stone hardened totem. I love when my totems get hard, and this totem does not disappoint. It is extremely hard, a very hard totem. And so a club owner named JD, with his money, purchases this totem to put in his room, but unwittingly unleashes Pinhead, and then some hijinks ensue. The movie stars Terry Farrell as well, who you would know from a little show called Becker. Frankly, a little CBS classic called Becker, and also Deep Space Nine. So I like this movie. It's really cheesy. It's really dumb. It is not very thoughtful like the first Hellraiser movie. It's just a slashery, ridiculous, gory, funny, but it's got a decent, it must have had a decent budget. I didn't look up the budget, but it probably has more of a budget than Hellraiser 1 and 2, and maybe them combined. As now, what I do like about the movie is that it's like in the city. We have tons of locations. We have the cool club. We have the cool apartments. We have a church. We have a bunch of new Cenobites created that are very corny, very Nightmare on Elm Street feeling to me. But a lot of fun kill sequences. And of course, Pinhead is great as always. Although in this movie, they feel like they didn't do the post sound work of like lowering his voice a semitone or two. It just sounds like Doug Bradley talking, which is a little jarring. I liked the effect before where it was a little otherworldly sounding, where his voice was a bit deeper. So it feels a little off to me. I think Terry Farrell did a pretty good job as the main character, and I like, this movie feels way different, but I like the camera work in that it's very intense. There's lots of Dutch angles, there's lots of intense sequences. We got like split diopter lenses where both the foreground and something in the background are both in focus, so it gives you this weird sense of depth or not depth. It's jarring to the eye when you're looking at something really close up and the other thing is not and still in focus. It's weird, it feels weird, but I like it. And so the movie has a completely different tone. They layer on some of the original music, but it doesn't really fit because the rest of the movie is so over the top and intense with things. And Pinhead is ratcheted up to extremes where he's spitting bullets and saying one-liners as opposed to saying like ominous, interesting things. In this, he's just a cheesy villain. Now there is some iconic imagery, like when he's in the church and he does his little thing with his arms, you know what I'm talking about? I'm Pinhead. I don't remember exactly what he says, but I don't think it's I'm Pinhead. It's something like that though. So you got those cool visuals, and this movie has a huge body count if that's what you're looking for out of a slasher, because there's like a intense sequence in a club where hundreds of people are murdered. I think the problem is that Pinhead is no longer interesting to me, and neither is the box in a lot of ways. And the fact that a lot of the story focuses more on Pinhead like combining his good and evil back together again to be formed is just kind of dumb and not really what Hellraiser 1 did so well. Because for me, Hellraiser 1 was a story about characters and the Cenobites played a role in that story. But in this one, it's just all about Pinhead for the most part. Sure, we have Terry Farrell kind of unpacking like and uncovering some mystery, but the audience already knows who Pinhead is by this point. But if they don't, like, this is a decent standalone movie. You could watch this not knowing anything about Hellraiser and find it enjoyable. But I don't know, it seems to take away, the more you take away mystery about these things, the less interesting they become, for me at least. And I get it. He's the marketing piece. He's the thing that brings people to watch these movies now. So that's why they shift the entire franchise to just imagery of Pinhead. But in doing so, it feels like it dumbs down the stories a lot of times because there's just not that much left to do with him. but the characters could have interesting stories. I will say though, I do enjoy the fact that the first 4 movies, and I don't remember if the 5th one does, but are continuing right one after the other. And this one sets up a stinger for the 4th movie by ending in a building filled with what looks like the box configuration as wall pieces and art. So by the end, I'm not exactly sure if any of it makes sense. Ashley Lawrence is in it for a cameo, doing like these VHS tapes from her in a mental asylum. It feels like she filmed them by herself. It's kind of weird, but it's still cool to see her and be the through line of the series there at that point. Although not entirely necessary to the point of this movie. It just feels more like a cameo role as opposed to like a really interesting story beat. So if you like the silly nature of a slasher movie, it delivers, and it delivers pretty well. If you're looking for something that's a little more thoughtful, I'd avoid this. That was what I liked so much about Hellraiser 1. It was definitely a more thoughtful movie. But it's well-made, camp, and well-budgeted, so I still enjoy it. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10. It's different, way different than tone than the first 2 movies. And then next time we're going to talk about Hellraiser 4, which is kind of the end of the series in some ways, or it feels like it should be. No, it didn't end. There's like, I don't know, like 7 more movies after that. But we'll get all those in eventually, guys. So let me know what you think of Hellraiser 3, and then I will catch you here next time, guys. Goodbye.